Welcome to the Bagri Foundation's Open Up series. I am Alessandra Cianetti, project manager for the foundation. I'm really happy to be here today with Rhine Bernardino for a conversation about her fascinating work as both a curator and an artist. Through our questions, we want to explore what drives her, inspires her, terrifies her, and ultimately what is most important to her these days. The Bagri Foundation's Open Up series was launched back in June to platform the voices and work of exciting artists in these incredible times. We are interested in listening to ways artists are responding to the changes going on in the world, culturally, socially, environmentally, and how artists keep being driven and being inspired to this period where our reality shifts and mutates on a daily basis. Today, we are pleased to have the opportunity to speak with Rhine, who has been doing extensive research and mapping of art collectives, alternative spaces, and community-based projects, highlighting societal marginalized voices across the globe. Just a quick introduction to Rhine's work for who among you doesn't know her work yet. So Rhine Bernardino is an artist, curator, and researcher, and she has curated and exhibited her work internationally, especially in Asia and Europe. Rhine has been invited to take part in several international art programs and residencies. Most recently, as part of the Australia Art Council's Future Leaders Program and at the Office of Contemporary Art in Norway's International Visitors Program. Before starting our conversation, we invite questions from our viewers in the comment below and on our social, and we will endeavor to answer these as best as we can. So thank you, Rhine, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And I'd like to ask a question about your most recent work. So you have recently curated a digital exhibition with the collaborative platform you run called Inventory. The title of the exhibition was Where I'm Coming From. It was hosted by guest projects and supported by the Inca Shonibare Foundation, the Taiwanese Ministry of Culture, and Pineapple Lab in the Philippines. The digital show focused on 4 languages through screenings, performances, digital artworks, and even cooking sessions. Can you tell us a bit more about the thinking behind the digital exhibition? And before you start, I'd like to share just an image of the exhibition. And here it is.
Should I? Yeah.
Yes,
So the whole structure of the exhibition wasn't actually meant to be a digital one, but because of the changes that happened, we had to reformat the whole exhibition and see how we could translate it in a different milieu, you know, which actually was really interesting because it's meant to be experienced in real life. And because it's a lot of thinking is like, how do we translate this language experience in a digital space when it's much more nuanced? Because the main thinking of the exhibition is to highlight the several micro narratives of exclusion that sort of tacitly exist within those who face cultural and language barriers. And we really wanted to challenge this this position of the English language that we take for granted as a position of not only as a primary or universal language, but also as an unrivaled provider of certain level of comfort and commonality. So we wanted to create a space that where English is not the primary language, in a space that is purposely designed for someone else, quote unquote, and the mainstream or apparent majority is the other, and the dominance of the English language is heavily questioned. And so it was mainly designed that you enter, like, it's just this imagination of what if you come to an exhibition and there's no translation to English, and it's a language that maybe some people haven't actually heard of, and how would that feel, you know, like this you feel like you're out of your comfort zone, which a lot of people from minority like from minority backgrounds kind of feel, and also to highlight this, how do we kind of get into a space of commonality beyond this translation to really dig deeper in connecting with artworks, because it's not just that, it's also the experiential part of it. And the idea is that you can come back with like a translation to have a different lens in looking at them, and how the experiences would change now that you understand it in like in that kind of level. So yeah, it was like this kind of exciting opportunity, and like, because I've never been in a space like that as well. There's always like some for you to understand, for you to be translated, these things, and then now we have to reformat it online, and then obviously you can't, because the point is this is also an accessibility issue that we really want to highlight. But if you put it in the digital space, then it's a different world, you know, and you want to connect more. So we had to play with subtitles, like being available, highlighting these languages, that how they sound, how they look like, and also to be able to have another layer and to have accessibility, we actually decided that we would have English subtitle, and also some like easy read guides, and we actually wanted to also have like audio descriptions, but the budget didn't really allow for that. But the idea is really to have as much accessibility as possible when we transferred it digitally, which was kind of interesting actually.
Yeah, I wonder, how did you choose the 4 languages and why? And also, how was the process of working with the artist and what you have learned through that process as well?
The thinking behind choosing languages is mainly this kind of ones that we've never really, it's not that visible, I would say, like Filipino, for instance, like, and it's not just the language, it's about like the culture, which is thinking of like in terms of it's not really highlighted so much in I feel like we feel like in arts and culture especially, like, so I mean I'm from the Philippines, so I chose Filipino, and it's very close to me, and I know there's a lot of micro narratives that are present in there. And then also Taiwanese is a very interesting language because of this dynamics and connection with Mandarin, and how it's written, and its history is actually very nuanced. And so I think it's so we wanted to highlight that, and also Berber languages, and which has kind of a similar, I wouldn't say the same, like it's very, very nuanced, and like how, and the characters look different, and you know, it's this kind of physical dynamics of it as well. And it's not just one language, it has a lot of variety in Northern Africa. There's a lot, I guess it's also choosing that has like socio-political nuances around them. And then also with Yoruba, because we also wanted to tie it with how guest projects is connecting with Nigeria, with the foundation, and how we could start that conversation between the UK and Nigeria. And yeah, so that's kind of how the thought process of choosing the languages. And it was really amazing working with the artists, because it took quite a while, like almost a year of conversation, and then changes, and we had to actually cut down the artist, because now that it's in the digital space, it's a completely different, we don't want to oversaturate the space, and this is careful thinking, and we want to highlight them specifically, so they have to be cut, and also budget wise. So, but yeah, it was really amazing, and how we also kind of wanted to focus on content that could suit digitally, like with interaction, like more performative, because if it's an object, it's quite difficult, like why to translate it digitally more than just an image. So we're thinking more of that, but also have some dynamics of playing around web-based work, since we're going into the digital space. So yeah, that's mainly the rationale, and everyone's really great, and we really like a lot, because a lot of works are actually newly commissioned, and they really kind of took on the challenge of like like going in that space, especially with live performance. It's really tricky to like do it like you're not really talking to someone, and this performance artist, it's like it's quite an interesting thing space to be in, but they all took it in, and yeah, we're quite happy about it actually.
Right, including yourself, because we can see in those images you performing your durational performance. It was, if I'm not wrong, 8 hours long. Is that correct?
Yeah, about yeah, it's this,
How
yeah,
was
it's
it
a
for you?
yeah, it's like a I'm actually personally, I have a lot of reluctance in performing digitally because I mean, it's just me. I just have this feeling how people went really frantic. Like the minute that it, like everything closed down, suddenly everyone is just like performing online. And I just feel very like, I don't know, personally, I felt like there doesn't seem to be a lot of ideological shift. Like I didn't really want to treat it as a similar situation because it's different, you know, like how I just feel like I don't want to just jump to it quickly, and I want it to make sense if I do something and it would really fit the format. And since this is the work that I have been working on, I was really interested in this idea as well of like like constant something that's repetitive and how that could be translated online, like just watching someone doing the same thing the whole time, and like it doesn't really require that attention because everyone is also very you know, like I feel like the attention span in digital works is very short, and something that people can kind of tune in and out, and to really experiment the time element in live duration in the digital space. So that's my main inquiry to that, which is really completely different from real life because you have to be aware of, are my streaming, you know, like is everything working out, because no one else is there, it's just you, but you also have to be focused. So it was definitely very, it's quite challenging really. Yeah, but it's fun.
Yeah, for people who haven't seen your performance, I wonder, you know, what were you doing with all the toilet paper?
Like in 2016, I saw toilet paper together with my hair, and this is yeah, that's the whole idea of the work, and it came a lot from this thinking about statistics and numbers and absurdity of I mean, my work has a lot of repetition in them and duration, because I feel like, I don't know, like it's a time element to me is really interesting, and doing something constant, and this being in a state of space and time that transcends the actual activity itself, but also the whole backdrop to the work is to think about like this idea of making value, like putting value in something really mundane, and how arbitrary the placement of value that we put in things, like, I don't know, ranging from human life to toilet paper, you know, and like how things that we take for granted, and how some lives are more important than others. Like just because I'm putting time in sewing and really meticulously giving attention to something, does it mean that it's much more worth than its materiality, you know? And it's really interesting with toilet paper recently with the pandemic, because suddenly, oh, it actually has currency. So in a different level, but yeah, that's the whole, and it's a continuum process that I've been doing, and playing around this idea of number and statistics that is actually attached to the war on drugs in the Philippines. So I have like, the new aim is to 30,000 square papers, which is, I don't know if I'm gonna get there, but we'll see.
Hopefully so. Thanks so much for walking us through your exhibition and your work. That was a great. I will stop sharing. In the Open Up series, we talk with artists about the space in which they create. So going back to reflecting on this year, how do you think those spaces have changed for you in the past year? And also, which spaces you wish you could bring your practice to in a dreamed post-COVID-19 world?
There's been a lot of changes for me personally, because before the pandemic started, Inventory, the platform that I co-run and co-direct, is actually, we just acquired this space, which is really big. It used to be a wellness center, and we started doing a lot of projects and shows there. I mean, it's quite overwhelming in terms of London as well, to suddenly have this like massive space and we don't know what to do with it. And it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek kind of arrangement, but it's great to just, oh, we could experiment. But then we have it's a lot of work to start your own, to manage your own space. But we're like, yeah, let's just take it and see how it goes. But then, and then I think we started doing stuff in January, and also part of it is becoming an artist studio, so we could provide a space for artists to really work, because it's a big currency in London, you know, not a lot of people get to have access to spaces, and which is really perfect. But then everything got really disrupted, and at the end of the day we had to let it go, because it takes a lot of energy, and this with the commute and managing, and people are not really going to spaces and showing and all these gatherings that way. So yeah, we had to let that go. So it was kind of short-lived, but we still have access to it, but we have to stop all the programming. So that's probably the biggest impact in terms of spaces that I work in, and I had to really like kind of retreat in my space, and also a lot of like internal work. It's actually quite good to just be, you know, to kind of just be in your space and think about these things, and because what the position that I took is like, I really wanted to maybe use the opportunity to really rethink my practice, and to not jump really quickly and see how it goes. And yeah, and that's where I was. So I actually took a break. I only go online once a week for like the past beginning months, because I really want to distance myself from that, and I feel like there's no need to rush, and there are more important things that we could focus on, I felt. And I did a lot of volunteering for like migrant communities and helping them shop and all that stuff. But after like post-COVID, I'm really excited. The plan was like, I really wanted to spend more time in the ocean and in the water. So that was actually my plan for the next year, and to really immerse in this community that I work with indigenous communities in the Philippines who are like seafarers. And because we built this boat dwelling project and art lab experiment. So that my plan was to really spend more time there, and spend more time in the water, and bring like my practice in the ocean much more actively, which I think that's still in my head, like, but I'm just waiting, you know, but that's the plan, like to be, and I feel more that the disconnection with communities, and also I guess in retrospect you'd be like, oh, I should have done that earlier, because I always like, oh, there's always time, I could always go there. But yeah, so that's what I'm excited to be on water more after this.
This really hides nicely with my follow-up questions, because I was looking at your practice. You have been reflecting a lot about rural, the climate change, and alternative ways of holistic living on water, as you were saying. And also in our previous exchanging, you mentioned an obsession with cryptocurrency. So I was very curious to know more about this, and how you actually link all these trends of inquiry in your work as an artist.
Yeah, the cryptocurrency one is like recent. It's actually just during the lockdown. I find it, I've always had interest in it before, but I've never really had the time to dive in it. I mean, until now, I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I love that. Like, I love being this non-expert and trying to figure out something. I think there's beauty in just finding your way out something that's seemingly complex, and especially with technology and all these like systems that we're not familiar with. I kind of see them as a similar thing, really, because with this alternative way, the idea, the whole premise of crypto, I think, from how I understand it, and maybe how I want to I don't know, like maybe to my personal interpretation, I don't know. It's just this creating a new ways of doing, you know, that is non-centralized, and where everyone sort of win somehow, like the resources are distributed much more, and it's not policed by like big institutions or like by these banks. It's really revolutionary, I think. Like, and I was thinking a lot, I talk a lot to this with my friends like in the arts, and suddenly I feel like because I'm too excited about it, so they also got into it as well. So we're like, we should start, and we were like starting this small club of like non-experts in cryptocurrency, and then learning. And we started buying these books and learning from each other, and going to like playing in the crypto market or something like this. But I really like this potential that, and we are not educated so much, that we could actually create a world that to disrupt the system that we live in now. And it has a lot of promise of ownership of our own lives and not being monitored. And the whole idea of it is for you to have to roam around in this space in your own terms, and it has a lot of like implications from like commerce and like personal lives and safety. So I feel like we have to be more educated about that, and just to know like the diverse ways and possibilities we could live, because the system is not working, you know. It's the same with the building this possibility and imagining a future on water, and these are also a reality that we will face at some point, like, so we should start really inquiring about that. So I feel like in that way they're pretty much similar.
Thank you, and please share your knowledge with us.
Yeah, let's start a club.
Yeah, I would like to share just another images, a final image, sorry, for I would like to share this final image that you shared with me to go back to water. If you can tell us a bit more about this project, it'd be great.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is such a fun project. So this is, I think, in 2017. So we curated this show to inventory for Art Leaks weekend, I think. Yeah. And then the idea was like to have this like just in the canals, to utilize the canals in London. So and how instead of people coming to the exhibition or like an event, you come to them and you just kind of float in the canals, and to also playing with this, it's called Vapor Tabo, playing with this idea of hierarchy as well, like how this structure of both before, like in colonial times, like Spanish time in the Philippines, like how people like poor people get to be at the bottom and like suffer, and all this hierarchy that exists in that. And I think the whole idea is to create spaces for conversation in this inequality. So we invited like this collective that I was part of when I was studying at the RSA. We started this thing called Rage, which is like composed of different artists from different parts of the world, and we talk about this political struggle from our own countries, and also like in a global perspective. So you would see like this interrupt, someone is dominating the group. So there's like actually artworks everywhere, and when it's moving, there's like different performances as the boat goes along. And yeah, it was actually quite a lot of fun because people were engaging and they were like following the boat, and also again this imagining a different possibility of situating art practice and the usual spaces that we experience them, and just really playing with that. And yeah.
Amazing.
That was fun.
As you know, we also asked for some probing questions in our Open Up series, and I wonder whether you're ready to answer some of them.
Yes, like hit me. Let's see what I would say.
I'll start with what I feel is the most difficult one. That is like, what are you most afraid of?
This is something that I think everyone has like thinking about, but I mean, there's different levels, I suppose. Like there's a personal level that thinks that you are internal fear and things that are out of your control, like in a greater way. I think I'm really thinking, like, I'm really scared to be, like, as an internal perspective, I'm scared to be a kind of person that, yeah, I have this fear of one day waking up and I don't find anything to fall in love with, you know, in the world. Like, I think that's really scary. Like, you don't see beauty, to just wake up and you don't see beauty in the world. And I think I don't want to be in that space. And also to be like someone that is not able to forgive. That's like my fear, to be like personally, but also in terms of the world. Like, I feel like a lot of the fear that I have, they're gonna happen. So like in terms of like environmental degradation and this fear of like how more people who, especially in the marginalized section, are going to suffer so much, like this fear of like things are not really getting better, because it's just, we're just in the beginning of collapsing. It sounds really pessimistic, but I'm not pessimistic. But it's this fear, but also it's also a reality. You know what I mean? So I don't really, yeah, I'm just scared to be in a world that everyone is just taking advantage of each other, because I feel like we're gonna get there, and the ones that are already in the bottom are gonna suffer so much. So yeah, it's really scary, but I feel like it's also a near reality. I don't know how to process that.
We always hope the art can help, and also artists, you know, can help to show us different ways. I wonder, as an artist and curator, if you could be remembered, you know, on this landscape that you are depicting, just for one thing, what would it be?
No, as an artist and curator, I think like it's more. I think I want to be remembered as someone that made this space for people to connect, and someone who brought people together, and these people made things happen. I wanted that. I think that's, yeah, I think, yeah. And also I want to be remembered as someone who just dances all the time everywhere. That's just my personal thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful image.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wonder, for this community of people, you know, that you are bringing together, what film do you recommend everyone must watch before they die? What do you find so inspiring as a film?
Film.
Yes.
Uh, there's too many. Oh, it's so much pressure. Um, oh, I can't think of one. It's so bad. Can
Maybe
I
the
choose a
most
book?
recent
Can
one.
I say just book? Because film is too much. Like, there's so many films in my head. I would say Little Prince as a
As
book.
a book.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Um, I just really love this book so much. I think I've read it like more than 20 times or something. I think it's also because it's not a lot of ask. Like, it's not academic or anything. It's very light. It's very thin and it's very short, and it resonates. I think it resonates to everybody, and it's playful. It's metaphorical. Like, you can take the it can be straightforward. You can take it like that, and it has so many layers that you could take it that way as well. And yeah, it's a really beautiful book, I think, and the the illustrations are also really good. And yeah, I think that would be for me if there's one book. Yeah, Little Prince.
It is a very poetic book.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, do you like it? Like,
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
it is
Yeah.
beautiful. I remember loving the planet with actually with the drunk person. It was very sad, but it
Yeah.
was a metaphor of loneliness they really loved for some weird reasons, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, and like this, the lamppost guy, this the mundanity of things, and yeah, also like in all ages, you could access it in different ways, in different stages of your life. I feel like it always evolves, like depending on where you are and what state of your life, you always find new meanings in
True,
it.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think I
yeah.
have the last two questions for you.
Okay.
One would be, if you could bring one artist back from the past to interview or have a conversation, what will it be and why?
Okay. I've always had this thought, but I don't have anybody in mind because I'm not really like maybe an interview person. I was thinking more of like if I could hang out with someone like in just like very an organic way, like in their prime, and we just kind of bump into each other kind of situation. I would probably maybe I don't know, maybe Van Gogh.
Mhm.
Because but I just also feel like he's so intense, like I don't know. Yeah, I think yeah, it really fascinates me a lot actually about him, like how I mean he obviously he's very famous and there's so many narratives around him, and I really like, I think this what interests me about him more is this impetus of creating things like the Yellow House. To me is very, I don't know, like it's just like inspired me a lot in creating these things of just this simple desire to gather people around and just like, I don't know, it's almost this naive kind of, I feel like we're kind of think like that, like, you know, if you just build a space everyone will come, like people want to collaborate, right, they just want to do, but also at the same time it's not, it doesn't actually come as naturally as it should be, but also just this idea that I will create this space for everybody can just come in and we could just talk and create art and create possibilities and imagine together. Yeah, I guess I just would want to talk about that mainly. Yeah,
Great.
right.
To ask,
And paint, huh?
you have a lot to ask him.
Yeah, yeah.
Just my final question, that we always conclude with this question is, what will you save if your house was on fire?
Okay, there's just so many things, but I think it's interesting as well in the perspective of being like a migrant person living in the UK. I would probably want to save my DRP and my passport, which is because otherwise I would have so much problem. So it's kind of a really, maybe not a lot of people would feel that way, but I guess yeah, it's just the reality of being in that position that you have to think about these things ahead, and that's probably the most important thing in terms of my identity. So that would what I would say, but maybe as much of the books that I have, like mainly academic books, because they're so expensive. Like, why are they expensive? So if anyone out there want to create a club with me to like finding a way to lessen the prices of academic books, let's do it.
There are communities of people that are trying that.
Yeah.
But thanks so much, Ryan. You know, it's a very practical but wise suggestion, I will say. And thank you for joining us today. It was a real pleasure to talk to you. And I hope everyone who is watching will keep a lookout for our next interviews as part of the Open Up series. And you can find more information on our website, bagrifoundation.org. So thank you again, Ryan, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye.